She has the face of an angel, the body of a beauty, and the eyes of a vampire.
This guy's lost a lot of blood.
You know, he had his head blown off.
This guy's really lost a lot of blood.
From John Landis, the director of An American Werewolf in London, comes a movie about a woman whose only passion is to rip your heart out. Innocent Blood, rated R, starts Friday, September 25th at a theater near you.
Hello, welcome back to Almost Cult Classics, the podcast. My name is Joe Ramoni. With me, my friend and co-host, Ryan Lancello.
Howdy, folks.
It's our Halloween episode, where we talk about a spooky movie once a year.
Spooky.
Horror movies, and I can't think of anything more horrific than John Landis. A man that I have a hate-love relationship with.
That's an interesting one. I don't know if I've ever heard it put that way.
Because there have been multiple times where like, oh, we could do Spies Like Us. Maybe we'll do this, Into the Night, I think maybe we discussed once, but there's so much to talk about with him because he has so many kind of little forgotten films, and as far as I know, no one has seen this movie. It's kind of why I picked it.
I hadn't heard of it. I remember
Right.
when we first started doing this show, you had pitched it to me, and I'm like, what are you talking? I was like, I didn't know what you're talking about. So yeah, I certainly hadn't seen it or heard of it.
Yeah. That's the crazy part. It's not like it just, I don't know, it was a huge bomb.
Yeah.
And no one really saw it. There's one of our patrons says, his name's Ezra, and he says he saw it with some friends in the theater on my 14th birthday. The theater was empty except for the 6 of us. So that tracks.
Yeah.
And I will say I saw this movie for the first time a couple of years ago. Every October, I like to watch some horror movies I haven't seen before, and this one popped up, and I was like, Mob, John Landis, Vampire. I have to check this out. And I liked it, and then revisiting it for this, it's really stupid. I like it, but it's really stupid.
I feel like there's going to be a couple times in this episode where I go, I really wanted to like this. Yeah. It's got a good premise.
A really interesting, fresh take on vampires.
It does. And it just kind of doesn't really go anywhere with it.
Yeah. It just doesn't really amount to its full potential.
No.
The effects are great. I think there's some really cool practical effects in this. I think the cast is insane. They're great.
It's a good cast. I think it's a little underused in a weird way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a strange one because I really want to like it. You know what? This would be a great companion piece with Wolf. Mike Nichols' Wolf, because it's the same thing. It's like, this kind of modern take on classic monsters that just doesn't utilize it to its full advantage.
No.
And there are really inspired concepts in this movie. There are really inspired effects. It just doesn't ultimately come together the way I would like. That being said, if almost cult classic, I think this is one. I think this movie could play at a midnight screening and garner some attention, and it would be fun to watch.
It's got some moments. It definitely falls short of being a cult classic.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't have it in
But it's
in
fun.
the end.
I mean, there's some fun stuff in it.
There's some fun stuff in it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's very blue ballsy in
Yeah.
a way. I felt like it kept taking me up to the moment and then pulling back, and I was like, come on. A lot of running around. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll get into it more.
Go here,
in-depth,
do this, visit that. Yeah.
I was like, come on already. And you know what else? Let's just touch on this. Was this 92?
Yeah.
It feels like it.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't necessarily like that. The movie looks good in a lot of ways. The nighttime in Pittsburgh, snows everywhere, the long jackets, all that shit, mobster style.
Yeah. Well,
but Robert Loggia's hairpiece.
Oh, yeah, that's
it's
really...
just 90s to me. Her hair and Parallode.
Yeah.
Parallode. Who I've never seen La Femme Nikita. I hear it's good.
Yeah, I haven't
She was
either.
the star of that.
But apparently that was an inspiration to get her cast in this.
I can see that. That was pretty big.
Get her naked several times throughout the movie.
Sure, which I'm not going to complain, but her hair, it's not great. It's very 90s to me. All the it just screams 90s to me, and in a way that I don't love.
Cinematographer is Mac Alberg, who works on a few of my favorite horror movies, including Reanimator.
Okay.
House and From Beyond. So we did a couple of those Stuart Gordon movies. And yeah, you're right. I think the movie looks great. It's very interesting that I think it's fresh that it's set in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Thank God it wasn't this New York-based mob thing.
Well, yeah, apparently Landis wanted to film it in Philly and,
Double as New York.
And it's a great idea. Just do it in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they have a little Italy, and
Yeah.
a lot of those locations come up in this movie, the Oyster House and stuff like that.
And Landis, he does a lot of times. He has these great opening establishing shots. Pulls up. I'm like, what city is this? It looks super familiar. I've been to Pittsburgh. And I'm like, what?
Do you like it?
It's an interesting town. I did kind of like it.
I would love to visit it.
I was there under not the best circumstances, but it's not a long story, not worth getting into. But it's laid out interestingly because, you know, the Three Rivers and everything. It's not the easiest city to get around in, but it's cool. It's got character. It's also in like a basin.
Right.
So it's always, the weather's shitty there a lot of times.
I want one of those French fry sandwiches.
Permani Brothers.
Yeah.
I went there twice.
Good?
It's fine. I went there twice.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta go back. It's fucking great. It was really good.
We got to do a trip for the podcast, make a little video out of it, you know.
I could have been Pittsburgh. You never been?
Never been?
Oh yeah, Pittsburgh's
Hop in a car,
it's a town worth checking out.
Well, again, the reason I really wanted to do this movie in particular was I wanted to talk about John Landis, again, a man that I have conflicted feelings on, and we're going to touch on some of his career choices and some of the stuff that happened, but really, I wanted to talk about like his three big early movies, which was Animal House, Blues Brothers, and American Werewolf in London. But we also watched some of the stuff he did before that. So
I didn't realize he did a movie. I'm thinking like Kentucky Fried was his first directorial. He did something called Schlock. I missed that. I didn't watch it. I don't know if
I
you'd
checked
seen
it out a little bit. It felt very similar to Kentucky Fried Movie, just in its look and its humor.
Right.
It felt like a trauma movie.
Yeah, I can
know?
see that. I'm sure it's insanely dated. He says it's terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why bother?
But I had never seen Kentucky Fried Movie. My only real...
I had not either.
I kind of worked with some footage for it when I was doing that video on the Naked Gun joke copying debate.
Sure.
And Kentucky Fried Movie came up, obviously, because it's the first film written by Abrams and Zucker. So I don't know how exactly Landis gets involved in this, but this is his second feature film. And if Kentucky Fried Theater was something that Zaz started, and this was kind of an extension of that. So it's a sketch comedy movie made up of a bunch of different sketches, kind of like it reminded me of SCTV, where it's like you're watching a night of television.
What's what we get on Amazon Women on the Moon is way more like that, and I think it's a little bit more effective.
Apparently that's how they came up with their ideas. They would tape like late night television, then watch it the next day, and then like riff on it, because that's what it feels like. It feels like a TV broadcast that would have happened overnight.
Sure. I mean, I wanted to like this movie, man.
I didn't like this movie.
I did not like this movie.
There are a few like great sketches.
Well, I mean, there's the one that's the standout. It's at the end. It's Danger Seekers.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, I included
it's super
that
racist.
maybe in my video. I don't know.
Yeah, you can go watch it yourself.
Yeah.
It's very, very funny. It's a minute long. And I think that's the big thing. It's a minute long.
Right.
A lot of these sketches in this drag, and like it starts off funny. Like you have that quick 11 o'clock news thing. Like there's piss in the popcorn. Film at 11. Then it goes into that Argan oil commercial. And like, once again, you know, humorous racism. Like they're collecting oil from the
funny.
Italians' combs.
The combs
like,
coming
that's
down.
Funny.
You just see the oil oozing out of the conveyor belt.
It's funny. And then the AM Today thing, parodying, and then it just kind of...
And then that fistful of yen man happens, and it kills the momentum, it kills the pacing. It's 31 minutes long.
It's 30. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this can't keep going. Like the guy who's doing Bruce Lee is very funny. I think it's Evan Kim, because it's like an Enter the Dragon parody.
Yeah, for sure. But they kind of like use up all their jokes in like 10 minutes, and then it's just like recycling that.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude. And like, look, I understand.
It's an hour and 23-minute movie, by the way. So this makes up like
a third of it.
Yeah.
And it feels so long.
It does.
A movie like this should be boom, 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 boom.
And I do like the idea, again, because the whole theme is that like you're watching a late night television broadcast where it's like you would hop in and catch the middle of a movie. So I understand like...
I love the concept of these sketch movies, the anthology movies. It seemed like Landis really liked the anthology thing.
Yeah.
And they like never work.
No.
In some ways worse than others.
Did you ever see The Onion movie?
No, I heard it's okay.
I watched it years ago at a party.
Is that the one where the sensible chuckle meme comes from?
Maybe.
And there's also, I remember, like, there's the Asian guy with the pipe.
That could be. There's
a lot of meme images.
It was like one of those movies that someone at like a house party when I was in college was like, you got to see and we watched it. And I remember loving it then, but it might have just been the atmosphere and whatever, was motivating us to enjoy it more.
Of course.
But I remember it feeling very similar to this.
I always want these movies to work.
Yeah. Comedy anthologies are hard to pull off.
Well, it's weird. It's like so much of them. You feel like this and Amazon Women on the Moon. I'm like, some of them. I'm like, you're making a movie. You're bringing your A material, and this is what you got. Like there's one in here. It's like a Nitex commercial, And look, I know it's the fucking 70s, and like this shit's dated, and it was fresh then, but it's like a commercial for a drug that cures headaches by rendering the purchaser unconscious. And like that's the joke.
Yeah.
It's like they just can't get him up. I'm like, okay. I mean, maybe it's because drugs just do that now. Like,
I love the second to last one where it's just like that couple, which like it becomes like a softcore porn to a sense. Like it does. It's like everyone's watching on the TV screen.
that was kind of funny.
It's funny, but again, it goes on like I get it. I get the joke.
Yeah.
I will say, Mr. Landis has some pacing issues.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it when we get to Blues Brothers, but when I looked at that runtime, because I haven't seen it in a few years, I was kind of like...
Blues Brothers is probably a little too long. Oh, it's great, though. I love Blues Brothers.
The music kind of pads that, so it's understandable.
But like this, like The Wonderful World of Sex. Funny concept. It's 5 minutes long. It's like... Something with sketches, man. If you're going to go beyond 3 minutes in a sketch, you better deliver. It better be a joke every 10 seconds almost. And like, they drag it out. And like you said, I could see it's the 70s. What fucking year was this? 77. You're stoned. You know, you're smoking your Thai stick in the theater.
Right.
Like, it's the 70s. It's funny. You're not used to seeing this kind of wacky, weird shit. I totally get it. Catholic high school girls in trouble. You know what I mean? You're seeing the titties. Whoa! Like, I get it.
Yeah.
It does not hold up.
No.
The fistful at the end kills any momentum in the movie. Because even after that, there's Willer beer with the Hare Krishna beer.
Sure.
Funny.
Yeah.
It's funny watching them like go have beers and like grab the waitress's ass and stuff. I'm looking back now, like these were kind of funny.
Well, I think
Scot-free.
Yeah, that was good.
The JFK board game. These actually are funny. Like,
I think they want Landis to direct Airplane, which he doesn't do because he felt that with Airplane, they just took the screenplay of 0 Hour and added jokes.
right.
And, a lot of people like, was
brilliant in my opinion.
Well, and that's the things that don't work about Kentucky Fried Movie for me are when they're trying to play it straight in that movie. They're good joke writers, but it's the in between stuff that kind of doesn't feel. And I think that's the genius of Airplane. Essentially they just took someone else's writing, but it works for that.
You can see though, like to what you're saying, like it's almost like I'm not gonna say they got out of their system here, but they really refined it in Airplane.
Yeah,
Airplane's great.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
Right,
and it's a joke a second almost. Whereas like this one has long, like you got to commit to the bit almost, and it's like, all right, dude, like they're having sex on the couch. We get it. Move it along here.
You also like the thing about like this was more of like that new Hollywood, the new like comedies in Hollywood were really starting to boom here because you had the National Lampoon guys, you had Saturday Night Live, you had so much that was happening. Second City in Chicago. I mean, so much is really happening, and you're going to start to see some of those people pop up in and around that end up doing these movies.
Sure.
But one of the, if not the first that kicks off this movement is National Lampoon's Animal House in 1978, which I feel like we've discussed before. It's definitely come up somewhere on this podcast.
Probably maybe 1941.
Yeah.
Belushi.
You've seen this before?
So yeah, I've seen it before, and I remember, God, it was really a long time ago. I came out on DVD. And I was collecting like DVDs back then. This is probably almost close to 20 years ago. I might have been in high school. And I was like, oh, Animal House. Boom. Like paid super. I was at a Tower fucking Records. Overpaid for it. It was probably like $30 for like one disc or something. Like, gotta get Animal House.
Special features were scene selections.
Yeah, shit like that. I'm like, classic. Gotta get it. And I remember watching it. And I was just like, And I watched it again this time. And I was like,
I had the exact same with that.
I loved it.
Yeah,
dude.
I didn't like this movie.
Do you have to
years
be older
ago.
or
Maybe
something? But it's weird because you would think it would play better as like a college age. Dude, I loved Animal House.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it.
It's a really enjoyable movie.
Yeah.
Everyone's funny in it. Like, it moves. I like Hoover.
Which one?
He's the president.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Something about him because it's like he almost shouldn't be there, but he just kind of goes. I don't know. Hoover was killing me. I loved Hoover.
I also like that, You're expecting that this is supposed to be like, kind of a ragtag group of misfits, but like Tim Matheson is like, he's a good-looking guy. Yeah. Like you would expect he would be part of, Omega House, but he's not. He's part of them. They're all just like kind of buddies, and I mean, Belushi's great. Every time he's on screen, I think we said that of 1941 we did that. It was like every time he's on screen, you wanted to get back to him and they use him appropriately here.
They don't overuse him.
Overuse him. Yeah,
all his shit's funny.
Yeah,
it's really good, and you can kind of see like just like the little throwaway lines they have, like the 7 year. I spent 7 years here doing this shit. Like, what the hell happened to Thomas Hulse?
I don't know.
Was he an alcoholic? Did he get sick?
I don't believe, because they did a terrible
Oh, he's alive still.
Animal House sitcom, Delta House, they did after this. And I don't believe he returned for that. I think they recast. And then they recasted a few of them, but...
He kind of retired from acting. It says, because, I mean, you've seen Amadeus, right?
Yeah.
Guy's an amazingly
He's
good
great.
actor. And he's really funny in this, too. But I was pleasantly surprised at how much I like this movie. It's way funnier than I remember. It doesn't drag. It really moves along. I'm interested in all the different characters and the things and like what they're into, and I like Landis's direction. And you can see, I think Landis's great strength is he's really, really good at pandemonium.
Well, I wanted to say that because watching this and then Blues Brothers and even some of Innocent Blood, I'm like, it's kind of a miracle that no one else died on his movies, because there's a few of like, I mean, and Blues Brothers, we'll talk about it, but some of those chase scenes are like, there's some near misses and just like... So I guess that was his whole thing, was maybe he just got like too confident in how he was orchestrating stuff. But
It's very possible.
it's definitely like, it's a spectacle to watch some of these chase scenes and explosions. And
I mean, the end of Animal House is so funny. Like it's the madness.
Yeah.
It's all coming together.
yeah, I love
perfectly.
I love when Doug Kenny's character leads them into the
so-
and they're still just stuck there.
Yeah.
They can't get out.
And just him marching. He
Yeah.
looks so funny doing it with that odd haircut. What was he, Stork? I
Yeah.
think was his character.
So it's also worth mentioning that this movie is written by Harold Ramis, Douglas Kenny, and Chris Miller. They kind of set this up as the first National Lampoon movie for Ivan Reitman to direct. And at a certain point, Landis kind of asserts himself into the mix and starts talking in the producer's ears and really ends up taking over the film enough where Harold and I guess even Ivan are really kind of pissed at him. I mean, it's kind of...
Oh, really?
Yeah, you don't see them work together ever after this.
That's a good point.
And then they go and do Caddyshack the way they wanted to make the movie. So it's funny to see how these two projects differ. I mean, you've read about the Caddyshack production. It was a nightmare. Like,
I'm stunned a movie came out
Ramis
of
had
that.
never directed anything, had no idea how to direct anything. So while Landis, I think he did some kind of, not backstabbing, but I do think he pissed them off by how quickly they had spent, months writing this script. And then all of a sudden this guy comes in and is like, no, change this and do that and take this out. And it was like...
One thing, for better or worse, he seems like an extremely assertive guy.
Yeah. Well, he had to be for this, because he hadn't done... I mean, he had done Schlock and Kentucky Fried Movie.
Yeah.
So Ivan Reitman hadn't really... It's not like he had done tremendous amounts of film, but he was able to convince them to give it to him. And, I mean, it's certainly a larger hit than Caddyshack. It kind of blew everyone away when it came out. It was a huge gamble, but it really resonated with people. And
Honestly, the directing is part... Like so many times when glass is breaking in the movie... or someone's just throwing something.
Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious. It's so well done.
Yeah.
Like the placement of and the nonchalantness of throwing something. The way Otter, the Tim Matheson character, he does it a couple times. He'll take a woman's jacket and just drop it.
Drop it, yeah.
It's so funny, man.
good sound design, good editing. It's very
Yeah.
tight.
Yes.
All the performances are really fun. It's so nice to see so many people. Karen Allen, pre-Raiders, she's great in this.
Yeah.
And
Uber
Donald Sutherland.
cute.
Yeah, uber cute. Stephen
Sutherland's
First,
hilarious.
Sutherland,
Steve-
yeah.
They're all funny.
Kevin Bacon's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's gets it completely.
Who's Niedermeyer? Oh, Omega House. Here we go. Mark Metcalf.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of got typecast, unfortunately, but he's so good. And then the leader of Omega, James Doughton, is Gregory Marmalade.
Yeah.
He looks like a drawing.
Right.
That's that's the Wasp drawing. Like, he looks perfect.
Dean Wormer, of course, is a great.
It's hilarious.
It's fun. It's a great. It's got an iconic poster. It's just got. I'm in the same boat as you. I had way more fun with it and it's been maybe about 10 years or so since I've seen it all the way through, but it was a lot of fun.
And I can do that thing D-Day does with his throat.
Oh, really?
I probably...
Is he playing William Tell Overture?
Yeah, I can't do it right now. I used to be able to do it really well.
That's funny. He's just sitting there doing it. Yeah. He's great. But
yeah, you can't go wrong with Bruce McGill.
So, and that's kind of what happens again. Ramis and Kenny go off to do Caddyshack, and Landis goes off to do Blues Brothers, which is 1980. This is the first SNL character-based movie, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
There might be something else. I can't quite...
Now, we were talking about this before. We were like, oh, what are we going to do on Patreon for this episode? And we're not going to do anything Landis. We're going to do some more horror movies. But I consider getting you to do Blues Brothers 2000, because that was a movie I think I saw growing up more than this movie.
I remember, I was a kid. I saw it in theaters.
It's certainly geared more towards kids, that movie.
I liked it.
I remember liking it.
But I think I was just a kid.
Of course.
And I was like, oh, these songs are good. I like all the songs.
And when you probably
the music
compare
holds
it
up.
to this, it probably
Well,
is.
I think I had seen it more than Blues
I
Brothers.
had definitely
then.
had, yeah. I just remember because there's a little kid and it's John Goodman and it's like, I don't know.
Joe Morton.
I remember the Ghost Riders in the Sky.
Yeah,
they
it was
do
awesome.
that. Yeah, it was such a cool
Super
scene.
cool.
It might be a good movie. I don't know.
It's probably shit. But
I know.
Maybe I'll check it out.
Because it's just such like a weird concept, right? Like, let's take Belushi's gone, so let's try to do a Blues Brothers. It's like, I'll just say this. Thank good Christ Almighty it wasn't the other Belushi brother as his replacement in that one. I'll at least say John Goodman is like
John
inspired.
Goodman's not a bad pick, but we differ on our on our Jim.
I'm so because he is in the act. I don't know what the fuck his character's name is, but
So what was the bit on SNL? Would they just come out and sing Sam Cooke songs or something?
yeah, essentially
It's
like
no joke.
I don't think there was any joke. It was just like they would play actual blues and
Funny.
then like they had records and they were a huge thing.
Hilarious. It's so funny to me. There's just no joke.
But this movie, it's a little too long. Some of those chase scenes, man, it's like, oh right, like
I dig it, but
of course because they're a spectacle.
Right.
The shopping mall one is like it's a miracle no one died. It really is.
People are very
And
close.
especially because everyone was coked up on this movie,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there was, I think there was a coke budget on this movie. I mean,
But I just think a lot of you see this is I feel like you really see the strength of Landis as a director in this movie. That great opening establishing shot over Chicago.
Yeah.
All the smokestacks and like the smog, and then like the prison entrance is great, and then like
that prison entrance is
when
so
Jake gets out and the door opens and it's super yellow behind
the
him.
two of them are like face to face. It's like
Fuck,
it's a great way to start the
you're
movie.
ready to go, man.
Yeah.
You are ready to go. And
Yeah,
it's
and
great. They're iconic. It's you're setting it up to be like you can't. It's undeniable.
You know what I love? One of my favorite scenes is when they go back to Elwood's apartment. And just like how atmospheric how real that whole location feels and looks. And just like the characters in the lobby that are hanging around. And
Well, I think to what you're saying, I think what really sells this movie is it's a musical, almost, pretty much. But it does that magical realism thing that musicals do. So like, bystanders are getting up and dancing. Choreographed. Like, why, who taught them this? They're singing along. It's shit like that. The train is never stopping.
yeah.
The city of Chicago is this magical place almost with weird. It has a character all its own. You really want to go to this Chicago. That doesn't exist. Like, here, Chicago's a good town, but
I've only been very briefly, but I really enjoyed my time there.
everyone says
And
it's great.
I love the look of the L train, and it's all that stuff is really cool.
But like to what you're saying, I love how the train never.
It's
you
just
get,
constant.
Like, a brief second, and the train just keeps coming.
It's also just huge cast full of great. I mean, you got people like, first of all, the whole Blues Brothers band. They're great. Then you have the musicians, and you have
The Blues Brothers band is so endearing.
It's so
Most
they're
of
such
them
a fun
can't act at
characters.
all, but
yeah.
they're all great. Actually, some of them are really good. Murph's good. Murph of the Magic Tones.
I like the Duck Dunn, the guy who
Donald Duck Dunn's good.
and the sax guy with the long hair.
Blue Lou.
Blue Lou, yeah.
I like the Mater D. I forget who he is.
Oh, right. And then you have people like Paul Rubens in a small bit part, John Candy in a very small part. Henry Gibson is great.
Super
as
funny.
the head Nazi. And you also, something I really admire about John Landis movies is the director cameos and small parts from directors. And in this, Spielberg gets a rare acting performance from Spielberg at the very end. It works perfectly, that character.
Yeah.
Obviously, the two of them have a huge falling out after Twilight Zone. And that's why you never see him pop up in a John Landis movie. But I like that he commits to putting filmmakers and behind-the-scenes talent in his movies.
But it's just it's a super enjoyable movie. It's like I said, it's undeniable. You feel good watching it.
Yeah.
There's a good feeling, and like just all the funny, stupid shit, like Carrie Fisher trying to kill them constantly. The one thing I'll take issue with is why are the good old boys chasing them? They showed up late to the gig.
I know, but it just becomes
The
like
bar owner has a legitimate gripe.
Yeah.
He wants money for the beer.
Right.
But the good old boys care
They're just
at
in it.
all. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll take Charles Napier doing anything any day of the week.
Oh, sure. I do love the end when they're just being swarmed with police and SWAT teams, and they're just like they keep like stacking stuff on top of the door, the
excellent.
benches. Yeah, And the two of them, man, I mean, they talk about like a salt and pepper yin and yang way they look together on screen. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And it's, goddamn, I would have loved to see these guys grow more as a team and do more, because we talked about doing Neighbors on the show, which is their other kind of buddy pairing, but they're both great. I mean, Aykroyd is so just like understated as like that.
It's really funny, the white toast thing.
The white toast with no butter or anything, and the fried chickens.
4 chickens.
Yeah. And
a Coke.
I gotta tell you, man, Belushi is someone that, you see a little bit of, but I feel like didn't really get a chance to do much. I mean, 33 years old, but...
And to what you're saying, it's like, I don't think you see Elwood's eyes at all.
No.
But what a great reveal, because Belushi has those
great eyes.
expressive eyes, and they deploy it at the perfect moment.
The same thing in Animal House when he looks to the camera, that one moment. It's used so well.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
But just to like the magical realism thing, like the whole Cab Calloway thing, when he goes into Minnie the Moocher, and all of a sudden the backgrounds change.
Oh, man, yeah.
And they're all at like the bandstands and their outfits, and then the song's over, and they're back.
It's back.
That kind of shit is perfect.
Because it's just cut so well where it's like, he's like, all right, you guys know this? All right, here we go. And then boom, he turns around. It's
perfect.
And this is not my favorite genre of music, but every song in it, I'm like tapping my foot along.
Every song's great.
It's great.
It's so good.
And all the, like, Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, James Brown, they're all just at their best.
Yeah,
they're having a blast in it.
I'm saying, I like when Aretha Franklin starts singing. It's like the male woman gets up and starts dancing. I love that shit, man. Like,
but contextually, all the songs also work for the story.
Exactly.
They advance the story.
100%.
It works. And for that, it's great.
Yeah.
It's, again, a little too long for me, but I still enjoy it, and I'm definitely going to revisit Blues Brothers 2000 now because I'm very curious.
I'll check it out, but like I said, I probably loses a lot of that Chicago thing because it makes it seem like there's an undercurrent of music throughout the city that everyone can just tap into.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was a conscious effort or they just kind of realized as they were going along, like, oh, I see what we're doing here. Yeah. It's really that scene where they go, like, with John Lee Hooker opens it up with the boom, boom, boom. And, like, everyone's around, like everyone's in the city, and it's just that whole sequence is fucking great.
Orange Whip.
Yeah, Orange. I had to look that up.
There's a great YouTube channel. I think it's called, I don't know, How to Drink, maybe something different, but he makes cocktails from movies and TV shows, and he does the Orange Whip.
Okay.
And it's very cool. It looks delicious.
I'm sure it is.
It looks like a creamsicle. But yeah, man, it's a really fun movie, and it's...
What would you cut?
I mean, there is, like you said, there is like a 20-minute extra. So I mean, but like,
like as funny as it is, the Nazi thing kind of is stupid, and I understand why they're doing it. You familiar with that whole Skokie thing?
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, there was, I guess, that was probably around. What was this movie? 78.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably 76, something like that. In Skokie, Illinois, the I don't know, Nazi Party of America, or whatever the fuck, they wanted to do a march or a rally.
Yeah.
And they had to let it happen because of free speech. Funny enough, you know who represented them in court? The ACLU.
Oh, really?
Who probably wouldn't do that today.
No.
But it's a free speech thing.
Right.
Which, let the fucking Nazis march.
Yeah.
Like, fuck them. Like, who cares? Like,
I'd been to, when I was in Chicago, by the way, I stayed in Skokie.
Did you
It's
really?
Lovely town.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really cool.
There you go.
By the way,
Illinois Nazis?
I did not see any. That YouTube channel is How to Drink. So check that out because he makes a delicious looking Orange Whip.
Okay. But yeah, that doesn't go anywhere. To what you're saying, like cutting chase sequences, like the good old boys probably don't need to be chasing them, but it's funny. They're in the RV.
Dude, and again, this was during the era when like movies were such a big deal and crowd pleasers. So I don't think the length ultimately affected it.
That's the thing. You're spending your money like you better like. I'll sit in the movie for 2.5 hours because I'm at the movies.
Right.
That's why I'm here.
And it balances all of its elements really well. It balances. That's the one thing I have to give Landis credit for is he does balance horror and comedy well. He does balance action and comedy well. And like Blues Brothers, it's an action movie. I mean, there's some of those chases are on par with Bullet. You know, I mean, it's a spectacle.
Yeah, when they're under the L,
that
towards
is
the
like
end, racing towards the Cook County Commissioner. It's almost like a French Connection almost. But like, and also it's just so funny too because they get a little nervous in the car, the Blues Brothers, but they're so flat and emotionless. It's just so funny, man.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Well, almost as excited as I was to talk about Innocent Blood with you, I was really enthused because you had never seen An American Werewolf in London.
Never saw it.
And what did you think?
I thought it was fucking great.
Really?
I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, I like this movie a lot. I think the middle is not my favorite. The middle's a little slow for me.
Any love scene shit's gonna... Or love story, I should say.
But it's so different.
It's atmospheric.
Yeah.
He nails the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I get sad watching movies like this because he even said it. I saw in a thing. He's like, I really wanted to get 1981 London. And I'm like, well, that's gone. And it's just like the Bobby and the street and Piccadilly Circus. And like, it's all garbage now. It's like, and I talk about like, you know, this is not a political statement or anything, or I'm not trying to, but it's people talk about diversity a lot. And I like diversity too. But we're losing that with, for lack of a better term, globalization. Where every place needs to be have an Americanized thing almost. So it's like London was very London-y. You know, Paris was very Paris-y. Now with the influence of everywhere's the same is what I'm getting at here. You're losing the diversity of what a place was. What the hell
Yeah,
is
was
that?
there a bird in here? It's setting the tone for
But you see,
the Moors.
You see it in America.
Yeah.
I have a term. I say it's Reddit America.
Yeah.
Because everywhere, you know, everyone's on the internet.
I mean, I've
now.
never been to London, though, so I can't speak to the...
I'm sure it's still pretty London-y, but like it's like, you know, I hear people are losing their regional accents in America. It's shit like that where it's like, that sucks. And you know, look, the march of time, you can't stop it. But I do think a lot of it is we're so interconnected now that there almost is no difference. You can't totally get away with that. I mean, you can't totally end it because look, sunny California is always going to be sunny
What does this
California.
have to do with An American Werewolf in London? What is
Is
your...
that I think that London's gone.
Okay.
That 1981 London that you see is gone.
Well, again, I don't know if it's also... Yeah, I mean, I certainly would expect there's none of those, like, seedy movie theaters around there anymore. That's kind of a... I like that element of the movie. I like that... I love more the slaughtered lamb, like all that shit, the pub with the locals and I love like because you can really see his influence or Landis getting influence from the Universal Monsters movies because they always begin, you know, Dracula with the guy going, "I'm here to see Count Dracula," and the locals try to talk him out of it. So it's very reminiscent of that, and much like a movie that I think is I drug you to go see, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. That balances the comedy elements and the horror elements perfectly. And American Werewolf, it does that. You have humor in like real, like the Griffin Dunn character. It's a horrific
I love that
idea,
character.
but it's
So good.
It's funny.
Well, it's just a great idea too, because you know, if you guys haven't seen it, like they're two buddies, David Naughton and Griffin Dunn. They're backpacking kind of through Europe, and they're starting in northern England. And you know, they come across, like you said, that little town. They go into that pub, the Slaughtered Lamb. It's very odd. They're just like, okay, we should probably leave. And like, stay on the roads. Like,
Yeah.
Don't go into the moors. And they do. And a werewolf attacks them. Kills Griffin Dunn's character.
Very, again, you're talking about atmospheric, just like the sound design, the howling is very unique.
Yeah.
It's a great scene. It is properly like unnerving.
Yeah, it's good. Because then
And-
you're like you have no direction too. They're turned around. They don't know where to go. Like they're trying to get back.
Like, what the fuck is that, David?
Yeah.
But yeah, Jack ends up getting killed, and David ends up getting like really injured and wakes up in a hospital. And again, this is like there's some that nightmare scene in the movie. That's like in context. I mean, you know, thinking about what happened later in Landis's career with children, you know, it's like there's like the whole family's mowed down by these nightmare demons.
Yeah.
And one thing I do hate in movies is the double nightmare, the fake out nightmare, where you wake up from one and you're in another nightmare.
Yeah.
I think that's really tired. This
Yeah.
movie does that.
I had a weird dream the other night. No, this is the worst thing. No one ever wants to hear that.
What?
No one ever. You ever have someone describe a dream?
Oh,
to you?
yeah.
It's so fucking annoying.
It's weird to them, but like you're just like,
But
yeah,
I
no,
was
it's-
laying on my couch and like I have like a windowsill, like kind of, you know, right behind my couch.
Yeah.
And I could see myself laying on the couch watching a TV on the windowsill of a dream. It was so, I haven't had one of those. It was so fucking
Damn.
bizarre. And I knew I was in a dream. I'm like, you're in a dream watching yourself watching a dream. I'm like, what the fuck? Very odd.
You wake up all sweaty and you
I did.
then you fall back to sleep, but you wake up in another nightmare.
I did. It was so odd. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's a little annoying, but what a masterstroke though to have. Because, you know, he starts kind of killing people. He turns into a werewolf.
Well, we have to talk about the transformation scene,
Of course.
which is, yeah. I mean, you could look at it today and be like, yeah, but dude,
No, it's good.
The pain of transforming into a werewolf is captured.
Well, I like how it's...
The joints that are
he's
the
kind of just
stretching
sitting
and
there reading. And then all of a sudden... Because he's trying to ignore it. He knows
Yeah.
it's coming. It's a
Yeah.
full moon. And then he just starts screaming like... the way he goes right into it.
that
It's
whole
very
scene
good.
when she leaves, right? She leaves her apartment because he ends up with the nurse who looks after him, and he's kind of just pacing around. That's me waiting for you to show up when we do this podcast. just like to turn the TV, turn it off, could try to sit down and read.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Anytime we do it at my place, it's the same thing.
Again, Landis captures that just like aimlessness when you're anxious about something. You want to get, but you're like, you gotta wait.
Right.
And then the song choice too in that scene, which is Blue Moon. Is that in that scene?
Might be.
Yeah, because then you also have like Bad Mood Rising. Mm-hmm. We talk about that a lot, like music cues that don't work, but like every music cue in this movie is perfect.
Yeah, it's a tight movie. It's not overly long.
No.
But I was going to get to, like, the transformation scene's great, and then, then him out prowling is really good too. But I love first the Griffin Dunn just appearing to him as like, warning him, like, hey, you got to kill yourself.
Yeah.
You got to kill yourself.
Who's like having fun with it.
Yeah.
He's snacking on the popcorn, I think, at that one point, and
but the idea
he looks more decayed each time he comes back.
Great.
Yeah.
And just
Rick
having
Baker.
all the victims like appear to him, like, that's not necessarily werewolf mythology. And I'm like, what a great thing to add. That they visit you and like kind of haunt you. Like, that's so good, man. Like, what a great idea. And that scene when he's in the theater and they're all talking to him, like, you should hang yourself. No, I think you should kill yourself. There's always drowning. Like, fucking great, man.
Yeah, he captures that, like, again, it is more like a British humor in this movie, and that's why it's good, because it lives up to the London part of it.
Right.
And, he puts people in it like Frank Oz, who he seems to put in all of his movies, and it's just, yeah, it's great. It's a great little...
And to the pandemonium thing, so, like, he turns in the theater, and then he goes out in Piccadilly Circus and rampages, and it's great. It's choreographed phenomenally. Like, you got the
that thing just like lumbering down the sidewalk.
You have the double-decker buses, like,
yeah.
Like, I think a driver shoots out of the windshield at one point. Like, oh, and someone gets run over.
Again, it's a miracle that no one died on these fucking movies.
I thought it was great, man. I was really, I thought it was going to be pretty good, but I was just like, oh, this is good. Like,
it's one of those movies you watch, you can see why it's so iconic.
Yeah.
And it's probably his best movie. I don't know.
You think so?
I think it would be.
I don't think so.
You think what?
Well,
Blues Brothers?
I love Trading Places.
Oh, Trading Places, yeah.
And I don't even think, like, Trading Places is, I mean, what is that movie? It feels like it's
83.
No, but I mean, it's too long.
Oh, it is long. It's a long one, too.
But I think it's the Philly thing. Once again, it's seeing that old Philly.
Yeah. Talk about gone. At least that we can physically see.
Yeah. I mean, just
the Union League is still there.
The Union League, but just the idea too of like it being like kind of like a money town almost. Like that's kind of
it is. That's another one. Yeah, that's like it's a great movie.
It's just a comfy movie. Like it's the whole train thing. It's so fucking long. Yeah, it's so.
That's
long.
what I mean about Landis. Like I love his sensibilities. I love where he draws inspiration from.
I think he's a really good director.
I love in all of these movies, right?
Coming to America is really good.
Coming to America is great. You'll see the character watching a television, and it's either an old monster movie or it's an old... I love that he has paid tribute to filmmakers that are forgotten and put directors in his movies. I love just like how much he seems to love making film, because it comes through in his movies. And with this, American Werewolf, I remember in Universal Studios in Florida, they had like a special effects makeup show where they had like a little bust of the thing with when the jaws like. And I remember as a kid like that. Sometimes I think like those special effects TV shows that used to be on like inspired me to get into film more than actual movies.
The special effects stuff.
Lifting the curtain behind it and looking in, like there used to be, I think it was AMC. They would do those Three Stooges shorts on like Saturday, and then there would be like this. Let's look at how we make movies, and it was just like so interesting to see that.
Look, I'm not. It's the perennial me knocking CGI, but like, yeah, that got me into it too. And it's like Rick Baker taking 6 months to create this, and he was all pissed off too because he's like, you used 6 seconds of it,
right? And
then he sees it in the theater, how the audience goes, whoa, and he goes, all right, I get it.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. You don't want to overuse it. And it's great, too. It's that like, you don't need more than that.
Again, the pain and the joint stretching and bones cracking, like, it's so well done.
That's craftsmanship. That's artistry. That's being a technician. It's like, it's not sitting at a computer.
Right.
Which, okay, fine.
It's still artistry.
There's some artistry there. There's some technical, aptitude, whatever you want to call it there. But it's not, there's a tactileness to making the fucking puppet.
Oh, yeah.
And the pistons and everything.
Well, I love, too, when again, it's staged perfectly. He's transforming, and he turns over on his back. And it's obviously they've built a set where he's sticking through, and they have a body. But, like, just like the thought to do that organically, like let's not make it forced that he's turning over. Like, let's just do it in a way where we can get the most out of the effect. And the look on his face when he's just like, it's great.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, and that come on, the scene in the subway where he's stalking that guy.
Excellent.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this movie's good. I was really happy because, I'm like,
yeah, you hate everything.
Well, the thing with horror things is it's just, you know where it's going. And the love story, too, like, I could have done a little less of that, which is not super overused.
It's needed in a way. I get what he's doing.
It's fine. But I liked, the doctor who's, like, tracking it down.
Oh, yeah.
I like the two detectives who get, like, a little minor.
Right.
Like, the one's clearly kind of stupid.
Yeah.
It's shit like that. It's small shit. You don't need a lot. But
the first time I saw this movie, I hated how bleak it was, the ending, how bleak. And just like,
very bleak.
And then it's just like... smash cut and I think the he knows how to use those song cuts and cues, and it's a good movie.
Yeah. So after that, he does some documentary coming soon here. I don't know what that is. Trading Places classic. I love it. I've always liked it.
Yeah. Again, filmed in our backyard, so it's very fun to still see.
I mean, every bet I do with any friend or anyone, it's always $1 bet.
Yeah.
Always $1 bet.
It's worth mentioning that this movie is supposed to be Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. Pryor goes through his shit. They bring in Eddie, who doesn't want to be known as like discount Richard Pryor, so he has Wilder recast. And I think for all intents and purposes, it's a better movie.
It's a good, I don't know.
But man, I love how you see the evolution of Eddie's character throughout. Like, he originally is like but he actually becomes like a better person and a savvy businessman. And of course, the two, the guys pulling the strings, they're great.
Oh, Ralph Bellamy and Don Amici.
Yeah, when they come back in Coming to America, that's a fun little cameo.
It's great.
But yeah, moving on to Twilight Zone, the movie. I
saw this movie so much as a kid.
I was thinking about it too when you said it.
As a kid.
For some reason, man, this movie, either it was on cable or a lot. I don't know what the deal was.
My dad taped it.
I used to watch this movie all the time.
I would just pop the tape in all the time. And I like the Twilight Zone.
And I hadn't seen it in many years. And I don't know if the copy I had didn't have the first segment or what the deal is. Regardless of what happened behind the scenes, as we're going to touch on, it's an outlier. The first segment is a complete outlier with the rest of them.
Why do you think? Why?
Well, one, it's original to the movie.
Oh, okay. Well, what's the second one? Isn't?
No, they're all based on Matheson short stories or stuff from remade episodes.
The second one.
Yeah.
Is it the Spielberg one?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a remake of one. And so again, what happens is they're filming this, which essentially you have Vic Morrow playing kind of a racist bigot that just hates everyone. It's kind of like Joe, it reminded me of, with Peter Boyle.
Yeah.
That character.
I love that shitty bar they're in, too.
Yeah, right.
That bar is so weird. This one always unnerved me as a kid.
This segment?
I liked it.
Oh, it's unnerving.
It's just like, it's when you can't break through.
Right.
Like, you're like, no. Like, and it's the way it's shot, too. It's like when he's with the Nazis, like, he's dressed in his old suit.
Right.
But they're not seeing that. Like, as a kid, that's very unnerving.
Right, but you don't need to see what they see. Your imagination can carry it. And
because, like, you think, like, it goes to that thing, like, you're young, so it's like, you just tell them.
Yeah.
And there's no telling them.
Right.
And when that dawns on you, you're like, oh, shit. And then, like, the cattle car ending and everything, he's fucked. He's totally doomed. It just really unnerved me. And I had no clue about this.
But I guess...
the story.
I guess that him saving these two Vietnamese children was supposed to be the heart of the whole bit. And without that, I'm left wondering why was it included? I mean, it seems
bleak to, like you were saying, it's an extremely bleak ending. I think that's what freaked me out as a kid. There is no redemption. He's screwed.
Yeah.
He's in the cattle car going you know where.
So he also Landis directs the prologue with Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd, which is a fun little...
It's an old man.
Yeah.
He looks like an old ape. That's hilarious.
And there are, if you've never seen this movie, there are other segments directed by Spielberg, Joe Dante, and George Miller. And
what's your favorite?
It's got to be the Joe Dante.
It's pretty good.
It's insane. That's what I mean with...
Is it Andrew McCarthy or Kevin McCarthy?
Who?
The dad in it, or the uncle, or...
Oh, you're right. It is Kevin McCarthy.
Oh, it is Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah.
All right.
He's great. Yeah.
I always love him.
Yeah. He's like I think he's the uncle.
Yeah. Uncle Walt. Yeah.
But, I mean, the cartoonish effects that come to life in that scene are so well done. Mm-hmm. They capture a cartoon essence while looking real. It's very unnerving, and just the effects are great, and that kid is so creepy.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, look, I love Joe Dante, and I love the work he's done, and so he's so great at like creaturey stuff, and I love that. But I also love the George Miller Lithgow one.
The Joe Dante one, you know what it is? I think it's the way they're all nervous really gave me the creeps as a kid. And the house is kind of dirty.
I love how they're all like, "Hey, he's home! There he is!" They're all like weirdly praising him.
And like, aren't they like what are they eating at the one point?
Oh, it's like it's all like gross kid stuff. It's like lollipops.
That gave me the creeps too.
Cake.
How they're all like, it's
candy apples are on plate.
Super unnerving. The Spielberg one is the worst one, right?
Spielberg one is like, that to me it's so
okay.
like compared to the two.
So saccharine.
But they really should have like. I'm sorry, the Joe Dante and the George Miller ones are great.
They're really good.
They're terrific. The Spielberg one is just kind of, it reminds me of like one of those Amazing Stories episodes. Yeah. It's just very like schmaltzy.
From what I remember though, man, it's like shot amazingly.
It looks great. It's
Spielberg.
fun. The actors are all great.
Right.
But it's like, and then you obviously, you have that fucking heavy cloud hanging over this movie, which is that during shooting of the segment 1, Vic Morrow and 2 children lost their lives in a helicopter crash. I had Ryan watch, I brought it up before, Cursed Films as a streaming show on Shudder, and they do episodes on really great stuff.
I was really bothered watching this. Really bothered.
Not for the reasons that you might think.
Well, they're talking to the production designer, and he's getting choked up because it was, whatever. They're talking to like a special effects guy, and he's like, hey, you gotta be very safe about this. And all of a sudden, they cut to Lloyd Kaufman of Trauma Films in a dress. And I'm like, is this...
Is that like an Ed Wood thing he's doing?
I don't know. I don't even care. I have no problem with Lloyd Kaufman. I'm just like, this isn't appropriate.
Yeah.
You're talking about like these 3 people, the 2 kids and Vic Morrow that died here. And all of a sudden you have Lloyd Kaufman in a dress slugging from a wine bottle going, always safety first on my movies. And all I could think was, I'm like, your movies suck. Maybe you should focus a little less on safety.
You know, reminded me of Silvio and Seinfeld. Want me, shower me with kisses, give me attention, mwah, mwah, mwah. That's what he's doing. He's like, he needs attention.
But I'm just like, this is where I don't think Landis is fully to blame for this.
He's not fully to blame.
And I also take his side a little bit because, like, I've made stupid little movies, and I've done some really dangerous stuff when I make these movies, when I made them. If you want to see me go through a car windshield, you can look at my YouTube channel for Flower
But you were
Pot.
how old?
Doesn't matter. I do it now. But one thing is, as a director, I would never ask an actor to do anything I wouldn't do.
Right.
Which is a little unfair.
Yeah.
Because I fucking do a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to take some risks. And Kane Hodder was great in that episode.
Oh, yeah.
He was saying, he's like, you never know.
Yeah.
So you take every safety precaution on the planet.
100%.
You never know. Something could go wrong. And you watch the footage of that accident, and it's not the helicopter came down on them. It's a total freak accident. The fucking blades come down on them.
Right.
That's a 1 in a billion, dude.
Yeah. Also, it's
not that they got crushed by the fucking blades turn. Like, dude, you can see them rip apart.
Yeah, pretty much. And
the blades hitting them is so insane.
Yeah. And you know what the thing is too, when you're watching Vic Morrow walk through that, he's having trouble carrying the kids. He keeps dropping one.
Yeah.
You can tell he's like having difficulty with it. But
does anyone blame the helicopter pilot?
Look, you get the pyrotechnics were just out of control.
I know, but I'm like, there's a
Landis wanted dude, I'm sorry, the fucking pulling the kids off of like a non-traditional casting
director
thing
should have been thrown in jail.
It's
insane.
Then him going to Landis trying to speak at Vic Morrow's funeral, that's douchey.
Is it?
Yes, it is. Come on. And he'll live on forever in cinema and film and dude, not the time.
Wrong.
Not the time to speak. It's just
it's
not
the funeral.
Why? But you worked with him one time. Why are you getting?
You could say Landis is a cunt, whatever you want.
He is.
You know, he felt bad.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he still does.
But how do you ever? It's like he says it. He's like, this is a forever thing. Our lives are. I will take this every day for my life.
Yeah. Well, dude, you look at the Blues Brothers. You start to see this not carelessness, but he was getting very bold in how he amped up action.
I'll say something libelous here. Probably. I'm sure he did a line of coke and said, "Fuck it, get the helicopter in here."
I'm sure. Yeah.
Make it bigger. Make the explosion bigger.
They literally say that in this documentary. He wants them to be bigger.
I don't doubt it. I am kind. I don't know if he was a producer on Twilight Zone. He might have been.
He was. Him and Spielberg produced it.
You're fucking responsible.
Yeah.
You're the Alec Baldwin on Rust thing, dude. You're responsible. Was Alec Baldwin trying to shoot a woman to death? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? But he did. And you are responsible.
Well, it just goes.
And by the way, to tease, we're gonna have an update.
A couple
of weeks, we're gonna have a very interesting thing for our listeners there. On that note, but I'll tease that.
I think this movie, in a lot of ways, marks the death of that
auteur
anything goes production.
Yeah, which
because
if I can blame Landis for anything, that
it's
sucks.
that. It's well, I
like the danger.
Two things happen.
You gotta be dangerous.
This and then Belushi overdosing were like, I think, split the industry of like, okay, there's consequences for this shit.
Yeah.
You can't fucking
for sure
do lines of coke on film sets and not expect there's going to be consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And so those two things happening really changed the industry. And Spielberg and him were good friends. They never speak again. I believe so after this. I think they're done. And it's a shame because they have a lot of similar sensibilities, that love of old pulpy shit and monsters, and it's just so tragic that it had to boil down this way for what I consider to be not a great sequence in this movie. That's the reality. I think it completely overshadows two really great, inventive segments of this movie.
It's a shame for those two to get forgotten. They're incredibly good.
It's some of the best work that George Miller's done. I mean,
it's really good.
And Lithgow is phenomenal.
The way he progressively gets more
nuts, and
he
just
looks
like
so.
That dude, there's that big fat guy sitting near him, and it's very interesting. There's a little girl has a W.C. Fields doll, and it just keeps bouncing around the different people. It's very strange, and just like the fact that like that thing where no one believes you is captured so, and it's a remake of the Shatner one, but it's captured so well.
The Gremlin looks good.
And
just ripping shit out of the wing, like, what?
Enjoying it.
But like, look, as much as I may sound like I'm defending Landis here, and maybe I am, if you're the director, you are the big cheese. All shit rolls uphill because all success rolls uphill.
Right.
So any you weren't piloting the plane, the helicopter, whatever. You weren't, but it's your fault.
It ultimately does come down to that, and just the things that he was doing a lot there to kind of. Again, because he came up in this industry where that's what you did. You didn't follow the studio notes or head. Like, fuck it, we do our own thing.
That's what I'm saying, to defend him a little bit, because he's had so much success doing it. And you said maybe he got a big head.
It had to be what happened, dude. Now it's like, let's get a helicopter and flames, and like, it just was like so... And you think, too,
because after the fact, because, we've all had kind of these moments, not exactly this.
Yeah.
But it's like, when nothing goes wrong, you have that smug,
Of course.
See?
Well, we can do it.
Yeah. I'm John Landis. Look, I'll fly a
fucking make the things bigger. Make the explosions bigger.
I had a fucking Huey
come
in.
It's like, it's overkill, man. It's like, you have the poor Vic Morrow trudging through this swamp with these two kids. You have explosions in the background, a helicopter flying over. It's like, all right, dude. Like,
the casting of the kids is...
It's asinine. It's horrible.
That's where you were doomed almost.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
It was ego, man.
Is there no way to get around that, like filming with kids at night?
No.
You can't get away from that?
Especially now. But dude, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Come on.
But still, take them on a Friday night. What's the problem? That one I kind of don't understand.
Look, there's some little people that need work. Get some stunt doubles.
Were you doing? They probably had probably 5 cameras or so on that. Yeah. They probably had some close-ups.
They did. He had 5. I think they said in that documentary they had 5 cameras going. That footage we saw is probably like the only thing that's been allowed to be like. There's probably way more graphic footage that was used.
Pretty graphic.
Yeah,
dude, it's insane. The blades come down right on them. Like, it is a 1 in a billion. Imagine being there.
No, I can't.
The blood is out of your body.
I would imagine like there's one of those instances where
pass out.
First responders need like psychological counsel afterwards.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're Landis, how do you cope with that?
How do you keep making? We talk about like Martin Brest, who made Gigli, and he was like, "I'm done. I'm out. Bye, everyone. I can't give you respect on the film set ever again." Landis is just like, "Fuck it." Because right after this, he leaps into the Night, which is I think it's actually a fun movie. But then
I haven't seen it.
Spies Like Us, which we will come back to in some version at a certain point. He also writes the story and produces Clue, which is a great movie. In '86, he does Three Amigos, which I fucking love.
Yeah, a lot of people do. Clue has no business being as good as it is.
No way.
It's so good.
It's
fucking amazing.
And then we get to Amazon Women on the Moon, which you decided to check out.
Yeah, because it's the same as a Kentucky Fried Movie kind of thing. It's the sketches, sketch movie, but it's very much like watching TV at night, how it used to be, and you're catching this old 1950s Amazon Women on the Moon, and once again, dude, they do the same fucking thing where it's like they almost play it too straight with Amazon Women on the Moon. There's not enough jokes. It looks like an old 50s
Man, I'm
movie.
looking at this cast. It's great.
It's a good cast.
So many people we love. Arsenio, Lou Jacoby.
Way funnier
Joey Pants, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Kentucky Fried Movie. It's good. Griffin Dunn has he's like this maniac doctor.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really
I see
funny.
Joe Dante directed a segment too. That's cool.
Yeah, it's got 5 directors.
Yeah.
It's interesting to watch. I liked it. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either. But there's one. It's the thing so this one character, he comes home from work and he's watching TV and it's like a Siskel and Ebert type thing, and they're shitting on a movie or whatever, and then they're like, we're gonna do a new segment now where we review someone's life, and it's Harvey Picnic or Pitnick, and it's the guy watching.
Okay.
And they're like, and his death was so uninspired, this heart attack after a loser life. And he's like, wait, I haven't had a heart attack. And he has a heart attack and dies. So the segment Dante directs is Roast Your Loved One. And it's, he's at the funeral home and they do a roast. And it's the roast masters, it's fucking Steve Allen, Henny Youngman's there, it's Charlie Callis, Jackie Vernon, Slappy White, Rip Taylor.
All these classic...
It's hilarious. It's really funny. And then the wife comes up there to do the rebuttal and she starts killing.
That's hilarious.
So like the funeral gets held over for a week. Like that bit was really good. It's just funny seeing, dude, those old roasts. I was watching one recently. It was Henny Youngman clips. I was dying.
Yeah.
They're roasting Milton Berle. It's so funny, man. Seeing like a young Alan King. It's so odd.
Man, you got Phil Hartman here, I see. Dick Miller. So many great ensemble cast here. David Alan Grier.
It's pretty good. It's not great. It's another one where I'm like, this is your A material?
Yeah.
I'm like you're making bring your A material.
I know, especially
here.
Like if this was like his first go around, like he had done this before, you would figure he would have got his shit together and made it a little bit better.
It's just like one of those, like they're doing a fake commercial for silly pate, where it's like it's pate at like a cocktail party, but it's like silly putty.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude, that is not a material, dude.
I'm gonna check this one out. I didn't have time to get to it for this, but I will come back to it.
It's worth a watch. It's way better done than Kentucky Fried Movie because it has that connecting thing way better.
Sure,
like channel flipping, like it does the, you know what I mean? Andrew Dice Clay pops up in here at one point. A very young Dice.
Kind of like Stay Tuned. It sounds like a little bit.
A little bit. It's better than Kentucky Fried. It's not great.
Okay.
But it's got...
the bar was set very low, I guess.
It's got its moments. It definitely got a couple chuckles out of me. Yeah, I don't know. I like these movies. I have a soft spot for them. They're never good.
Yeah, they're never good. We should do Movie 43.
I'm going to watch it because of this.
You're going to check it out?
Yeah, on Movie Catch Up, I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Because not only that, I think I watched that... who's the Office guy?
Well, that could be anyone.
Not Gervais, the other one. Stephen Merchant. Halle Berry, their segment.
Oh, he's in it, yeah.
I watched that. I was like, this is kind of funny. So maybe
we'll see about that. I'll watch it with you if you want to do that for next Movie Catch Up.
We'll watch it, yeah.
So after this, Coming to America might be his last great movie.
Yeah.
Because he immediately follows that. Well, not immediately, but then in 1991, he has Oscar, which is a pretty notorious bomb.
Is it a remake?
It's a remake. It's Sylvester Stallone trying to do comedy, which is never a great idea. And
although Sylvester Stallone is in 2 of my favorite SNL sketches of all time. One is where Norm Macdonald gets in the car accident.
Oh, yeah.
And Sylvester Stallone is like there first on the scene to like help him. One of the funniest things ever. And have you ever seen the Orange Julius sketch?
It rings a bell, but I can't.
Oh, you gotta watch the Orange.
I'll check it out.
It's so fucking funny. I've never seen Stallone be funnier. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. It makes me laugh every time. It's never gotten old to me.
Well, see, but like self-aware Stallone's funny. But like him doing like this, like I'm a New York mobster, like I don't know, in love. I don't know what it's about.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you for sure.
So that flops, and that kind of restricts what he's doing, which leads to Innocent Blood, which begins. I read that he had a deal with Warner Brothers for a movie that sounds great. It was called Red Sleep. Yeah, and the premise was
this sounds cool.
Las Vegas. It was run by vampires, and the head vampire would have been Wayne Newton.
Sounds cool.
Who we fucking love in villain roles.
Love Wayne Newton.
And that just ends up falling apart. I think maybe Oscar bombing has something to do with that, but eventually he is sent the script to Innocent Blood and comes on board to direct it. And the one thing that was surprising about Innocent Blood to me, it is the Sopranos connection with being unrelated to the casting director for The Sopranos. It's just these guys were just out there. These were like, how thankful is someone like Tony Sirico for The Sopranos. Because he's doing it here.
Well, he was always getting work.
I know, but...
He's doing Paulie Walnuts. Like when he's watching TV.
Yes. That was his character in everything.
It really, yeah.
He really... I mean, and he's great. But he lucked out with The Sopranos.
Well, I think it shows you that the guy, like, I think it gave him a chance to actually act.
Yeah.
Like, Paulie Walnuts has depth.
Right.
It's a good character.
Yeah, that's Steve with the mother and that whole arc.
But
yeah.
it's all good. It's like, it's a really good character. And it's like, he's another one where it's like, anytime he's on screen, it's like, you watch the Paulie Walnuts compilations, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
again, I love the guy. But you see him in stuff like this playing mob henchman.
Yeah.
It's like...
You would have been a henchman for the rest of your...
He would have been doing his whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, you also have... I mean, I counted 5 Sopranos cast members.
Got David Proval, who I love.
Yeah.
Proval.
Was he Richie?
He was Lenny.
No, in Sopranos. Was
Yes, Richie Aprile.
Yeah.
Who was probably my favorite Tony antagonist.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I think I go with Joey Pants as the...
Ralph
that
Ralph
might be
was
my
great.
fine.
Ralph
or
was
Buscemi.
good.
Buscemi's good. What the fuck did you just say to me?
They were all good.
Yeah, I'm doing Gleason.
Boy, did you get that.
Also, who was the other one?
You got Tony Lip, who was
Tony Lip.
Carmine Lupertazzi.
Yeah, he's one.
He's got that great greaseball
Oh my god,
comb over.
That's not hiding anything.
He's the perfect WAP
Yeah.
character. We
You
can
also-
say it, by the way. That's our word.
It's-
WAP Dago.
And Tony Sirico, and then Robert Loggia is in The Sopranos.
Yes, as Feach.
Right.
Feach Lamana.
And then lastly, I think this guy Rocco Sisto. Make sure I got the right. Yeah, he was Young Jr. The guy that gets killed with the toaster oven in the beginning is Young Jr. Soprano.
Oh, shit, it is.
Yeah.
And also there's another henchman. I forget his name. Let me see. It might be. It's not. I think it's let me see.
Is
here.
it Kim Coates?
It's not Kim Coates. Who I have said this before. There's really nothing. I have nothing against him. His face turns me off. I don't know what it is about Kim Coates, dude. I don't like seeing him in movies. I apologize, Mr. Coates. It's not your fault. I used to feel this way about Walton Goggins.
Yeah.
He won me over. I now like to see Walton Goggins. It's something about Kim Coates. I don't know what it is. I feel bad because I looked this guy's name up. I forget it. But you watch Goodfellas. Remember when Henry Hill gets busted and he's sitting in the police station and they're bringing in all the coke stuff.
Oh yeah.
And there's that guy who has that. He's known for that. He does that classic. What do they got there? They bake it a cake and he dips his finger and licks it and he does that smile. He's one of the henchmen.
Is he one of the guys that turns?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then you got Rickles.
Yeah. I was thinking about this. I know Don Rickles likes to fuck with directors, but do you think like they're about to shoot a scene? He's like, John, maybe not get me decapitated during this scene. Do you think that happened?
I would not doubt it.
Someone has to lighten the mood.
I really wouldn't doubt it.
Hey, Don, do me a favor. Don't get me killed for this scene.
And what do you do if you're Landis? You're going to tell Rickles to
Yeah,
fuck
fuck
himself?
off.
Like, no, you're not.
It's a good
Because
thing
you're
there's no-
lucky to have Rickles.
John, it's a good thing
probably.
there's no children in this movie. Is everyone past the bedtime? This movie has what I think is one of the best vampires killed by sunlight
Really good.
that I've ever seen.
It's really good.
And it's also worth mentioning that makeup design on this is Steve Johnson, who worked under Rick Baker. He develops for this movie those contact lenses that change color. That's not digital effects. That was really done with contact lenses. It's impressive.
That is very
It's a
impressive.
great look for the movie. It's haunting almost in some scenes. It's really great. And also, vampire is never once said throughout the entire movie, which is an interesting...
And you feel like they get to, like, if you watch the movie afterwards, you'd think they said it. They get right up to, like, saying it.
Yeah.
It's almost like no one can bring themselves to be like, I can't say something so stupid.
And I think in, like, overseas markets, they retitled this movie A French Vampire in America. But, yeah, it's a notorious bomb, this movie.
Yeah.
It opens at number 8 behind... Like, look, you have... Captain Ron its second weekend beat this movie. Mr. Saturday Night beat this movie. Like, it was just...
Does that movie suck?
It's not great.
I feel so bad because I was watching Larry Sanders and Billy Crystal was on it, and he's like talking. He's like, Larry, I really want to talk about this movie. I put a lot of work into it, and like, it's like I really am excited about it. And I'm watching the show. I'm like, wait, this movie like flopped and sucked, and like that always sucks.
It's a weird concept of like a biopic for someone that's not real.
I love that.
It's interesting in theory, but like it just I don't know.
And
like
he's like a real Catskills like guy.
yeah,
right?
he's like
come
so.
on.
Maybe we'll revisit that.
That sucks.
But double feature with My Giant.
Oh yeah. Forget Paris.
In terms of critical reviews, it also gets pretty hated there. I pulled the review from Kevin Thomas in LA Times, and he says that Landis and screenwriter take real risks in that innocent blood must always be as funny as it is grisly. And I kind of do agree with that. I think it toes the line between humor and scary. Sometimes it's muddled and doesn't quite land, but there are legitimately funny moments in this movie.
A couple.
And there are legitimately scary moments in this movie.
A couple.
All right.
I mean, it just as a whole, it just didn't come together for me.
So it begins with, you have this, how do you say her name?
Perraud.
Perraud. She plays Marie, a vampire who's gazing out completely naked to the Pittsburgh skyline. And by the way, I read that like he had to cut this movie down, but for the Blu-ray that I have here, they put in more like nude
bush.
scenes. So it was the version you watched, was there full frontal?
I saw bush.
Okay.
Yeah. Caught me up, got my attention.
Yeah.
The first 15, 20 minutes or so, I'm on board on this movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Right up till she kills Ches Palminteri.
Palminteri.
I really was on board with this movie.
Yeah, I don't like how heavy. Again, dude, you make fun of Italians. It's the funniest thing. I have no problem, but they are laying it on a tad heavy at the Sinatra, and then like so.
I agree.
There's this character played by Rocco Sisto who I don't know what the deal is with toaster ovens. I couldn't understand what he was pissed about. Why is
Well, he stole a shipment of them and didn't.
and they give him his cut?
Didn't give. What is his name? Too. I hate his name.
Sal the Shark.
No. Yeah, but what's it? Michelli.
Michelli.
Michelli's so bad. I don't even think that's a name.
But dude,
But no, they
Loggia,
say it 50,000 fucking times
Yeah.
in this movie. Michelli. I'm like,
Loggia is laying on the Italian shit really heavy. So at one point he goes, "There's a toaster oven here. It's not like it's not a microwave. You can't cook a calzone in the microwave. It comes out." I'm like, "Okay, I get it. Like,
yeah.
look at the garlic and the pasta and the mussels and the
Yeah.
It's a little like I get it.
I love Loggia.
You could put anything in here. Slice of pizza, pastry. You pop it in. Comes out. The crust is crisp. Microwave don't do that. You ever try cooking calzone in a microwave? Comes out like a limp dick.
I love him chewing scenery. He was annoying me in this.
Really, I think he's great in this.
It was just too shouty.
I think
almost.
him and Rickles together in this, their scenes are so fun.
When those two are together, it's good.
Yeah.
But like he's too like it's a weird thing to say. He's like too detestable a character. There was no charm there. Everyone was just. I don't like when everyone's afraid of him.
Yeah.
And I got this girl in my place now, and and it's like they had so many things where they could have.
Give me some of the minestrone. Let her have the garlic and the olive oil. It's just like yeah.
A good idea where they didn't go for like he brings her back to her place and they're going to eat some food, and it's garlic and mussels.
Yeah.
It's like she gets all like I can't.
That had to be the whole pitch for the movie.
Garlic, yeah,
garlic. Would it be funny? Italians love garlic and vampire.
Yeah.
The screenwriter must have got high one night. was eating pasta and was like, "Oh fuck, that'd be hilarious."
These stupid negos are always they stink like garlic,
but they don't do enough with it. I wanted to see that come back more.
That's what I'm saying. There wasn't enough of the, in a strange way.
Don't give me this Mary Virgin shit.
Yeah, like mob and
I
vampire.
guess I still think they're balanced out. I don't like the love. Shit.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Dude, here's another one.
I know where you're going with this.
Why don't I like Anthony LaPaglia?
I don't know. I'm the same way.
I think I realize what it is. He's Australian.
Is he really? He's
Yes.
a fake Italian?
No, but I mean, come on. Italian Americans are fake Italians.
He's in Frasier. He plays Daphne Moon's brother. And he does like a Cockney. It's terrible.
He's in something I really like him in, and I looked at his filmography and I couldn't place it. Like he plays like a real bum, not bum, like bummy, like depressed character in something, and it's really funny and good. I couldn't figure out what it was.
It might be 29th Street. 29th Street's a great fucking movie. That's a great
I will
fucking
check
movie.
it out.
That's where
Landis.
he pulls a lot of this cast from that movie.
Right.
The which is again great movie. George Gallo directed that.
I think Anthony LaPaglia is a good actor. I don't have a problem with him, but I don't really like him that much and shit. He's like sleepy or something.
Yeah, it's not. He's not a very compelling lead to me.
No.
Like I think there could have been, Anyway, this movie you have it's your classic. There's a mob, Donnie Brasco like thing where there's an undercover guy with the mob who's conflicted with the amount of violence he's seeing, and this guy gets brought before Michelli, who's the crime boss, and he beats the shit out of him with a toaster oven because he was not giving his share of the profits, and then he wants LaPaglia's character is Joe Gennaro. He wants him to kill him Doesn't end up happening. I think just Michelli ends up doing it. It's like, here, I'll do it, and shoots the guy.
When I
And
tell you to kill someone,
Yeah.
you have them. I love the scene when Chaz is taking him down to, like, because they're going to go to, like, this underground. It's a real location. They're going in the basement where this
It's great.
guy's at.
I'm on board.
And they go
through like that whole.
the China kitchen. He goes, yeah, but we went down so far. We made it to China.
It's great. I love that shit.
But they come up after they've taken this guy out, and you get the sense that Chaz's character, Tony, he's the only one that's been actually, like, kind to Gennaro in making him somewhat friendly and not completely antagonistic towards him.
He says it. Well, he's like, we were friends.
Yeah. I guess at a certain point, though, Marie, the vampire, the French vampire, she was reading in the paper about all these Italian criminals and says, like, I'm in the mood for Italian.
Now, to get to the title, this is where the movie had so many opportunities to be more interesting than it was. But a good wrinkle is she only... Innocent Blood. She don't drink it.
Right.
She just goes for the bad guys.
Yeah.
Great.
Interesting concept.
Very interesting.
Not only that, and then has a set of rules about, like, detaching the spinal cord so they don't transform.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So
you can always werewolf, vampire, whatever. You can build your own mythology.
She
around
runs
this shit.
into Gennaro's and you can see the kindness in his eyes, so does not decide to take him. Moments later, she meets Tony, who's played by Chaz, who instantly is a piece of shit with her. What the fuck? You almost hit my car.
Yeah.
So she gets instantly, this is the guy I want, and seduces him pretty damn easily. And ends up...
Takes her up to a great lookout point.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm like, I was so
You're
on
in.
board. I was so on board. I love it. She pulls out that shotgun and
Yeah,
blows him away.
oh, baby. I love when all the mobsters are, like, into it. Like, yeah, suck my neck. And then, like, what the fuck? And then she severs their neck, which is, again, a cool effect with the flesh ripping off. And
Absolutely.
she sucks his blood and then blows him up with a shotgun. The next morning, we see the crime scene, and Gennaro has shown up. And I guess his commissioner or the DA or someone...
Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett.
Yeah, she's the DA, I think.
This makes no sense. Like, why is she, like... She's like, you shouldn't be here undercover. Like, absolutely, you shouldn't be here. Like,
Yeah, the whole time I'm like, yeah, why is... Like,
why is he here?
Because...
He's like, he was the only one. He meant a lot to me. I wanted to be here. And she's like, there's press here. You can't be here.
Yeah.
And then...
He spurned himself.
The interesting thing, again, you have the coroner who's like, man, this guy's... Like, there's no blood pooled in his feet. Like, for a shotgun blast like this, you would expect. So they start to think it's a rival mob boss slaying. But then again, he's like, don't worry, you've done, like, 3 years research. We'll make sure we get him. Like, and then all these press photographers just come out of nowhere and start snapping his photo. Mm-hmm. I guess that makes, like, front page news. Like, undercover cop, here he is. Like, whatever. Really lazy kind of.
And then all of a sudden, all the mobsters know...
Yeah.
There's
kind of a much better way to do that.
It would never work that
No.
way. Which is what you talk about suspending disbelief. It's just like, come on, like.
And yeah, she got a taste for Italian, so now she wants to come back. And again, we also see that he's working with another couple of cops, played by Luis Guzman, in a very nice non-traditional role for him.
Yeah, he's just
usually at this point in his career, he was playing like the taco vendor or the generic
Sure.
Mexican guy. So it's nice to see him in like a cop role.
Carlito's buddy.
Leo Burmester is the other cop.
Well, they have him under protective custody at that
Right.
point, which is what I'm saying. Like, you could have avoided
All
of
of this just by not going to the crime scene.
I guess you have to get the movie in motion, but you could have done it in a better way.
So I do love when she does return. And by the way, Michelli's all pissed. Like, how can we let this guy infiltrate us? We're going to fucking get him. She shows back up, the vampire outside the club. And what's his name? Provel.
Yeah.
Is like, hey, Sal, this woman, she just ran in front of the car. I'm going to take her home. Michelli just completely steals his thunder and cockblocks him. Is like, oh, you want to come with me instead?
Right.
And ends up back at his, like, pad, where he's like, here, hit this garlic and the muscles in the garlic. And the scent of the garlic is enough to make her run to the bathroom. She's ill. She opens the window and he comes in and he's trying to force himself on her. And eventually she gives it because he says, none of this Mary Virgin shit.
Yeah.
And she pounces on him, starts to suck his blood. He has a gun hidden in his ankle, pulls it out and shoots it at the ceiling, and then in her alerting the guards outside. So she can't finish the job. She can't finish him off. She ends up escaping, but it's a whole thing.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Not bad. And I like how, too, like, they can regenerate. Like, she can get shot, and, like, she just needs some more blood, basically. Yeah. Or, like, also another thing, too, is I like how she starts off with some dumb monologue. She's not great in this movie.
No.
And I know like they wanted Landis to dub her because her
Oh,
accent's
really? I
so-
think the accent works, though.
I don't mind it.
No.
I thought he made
There
the right
needs to be
decision.
like a difference
Well,
in...
you kind of can't understand her at some points, but
Yeah.
who cares?
Yeah.
It's fine. But she only does the, no innocent blood, but she also has sex. Like she wants blood and sex. And to me, vampires were always, that was the curse, is that you're sexless. Like you want it.
Right.
You have the fever for this shit, but like, in so many words, you can't get it up.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
But no, she wants to fuck.
She wants to fuck, too. Yeah.
So
And she does.
I like that though. That's a good added wrinkle to the whole vampire mythos. That said, this is where the movie
It starts to get a little...
they're over here, then they're over there.
Hey, no, but I think so he gets... by the way, when a body dies, is it protocol to stick a meat thermometer into their chest cavity?
No, it might be.
That's crazy.
I thought that was odd too, but yeah, it might be.
Because they have his... maybe if there's a murder, there's something to it, because I know they have his hands bagged. I guess that's to preserve evidence.
Sure.
And they're saying that his internal temperature, instead of going down, is actually going up. And the same thing, there's not a lot of blood loss. So they bag him up, take him to the morgue. Like, all the press is starting to get aware that Michelli's been taken out. They think it's by his own gang because he was incompetent to let an undercover cop in his ranks.
Right.
I like the morgue scene where he wakes up. It's
a good scene.
That's really funny. Frank Oz is the mortician who's doing the autopsy.
Yeah.
And he has, the bones so ready to go, and he just comes out of the body bag like, what the fuck? Why the fuck am I... He's just all annoyed. He starts running around pushing shit.
Yeah, he looks a mess.
He takes the thermometer out of his chest.
Mm-hmm.
I love that he calls in the guard. Like, we have this guy, and he just barrels past them, and Frank Oz says, get him. And he says, you go get him. Like, they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
He ends up running out and stealing a car, and the guy who I believe is the car that he steals is Forrest J. Ackerman, who was a very prolific writer, and I think he was the editor or a very big contributor to that famous Monsters magazine.
Okay.
So again, Landis paying tribute to a lot of these guys. A lot of little cameos throughout this movie.
Yeah. Tom Savini is a photographer. He was just really... It was literally like, oh, look, it's Tom Savini. And gone.
So he ends up driving to his lawyer's house, who is played by Don Rickles, as Bergman, I think is his name, who... A restrained Don Rickles performance, not... I love him and his wife. I think they're really fun characters.
That was not bad.
Yeah.
That was good.
He comes in his house, and again, Sal looks like complete shit. Like, it looks like he's dead.
Yeah.
And he's rifling through Bergman's liquor cabinet. He's just tossing bottles on the floor. He can't quench the thirst that he has. And, you have Rickles like, oh, Sal, what's going on?
See, I think this is what annoyed me. It annoys me when characters talk past each other sometimes.
Sure.
Where it's just like, dude, just shut up for a second. Like, you're a vampire.
Yeah.
Can we figure this out a little quicker here? Do you know what I mean?
But again, it is like a tricky, because they don't want to say vampire. Because I think if they started to say vampire, it would undercut it. Because he just kind of say it's like a power.
Yeah.
It's like, I've got a new power. I feel great.
But it's just like, he's so obviously dead.
Right.
And it's like, everyone should be a little more like, what's going on
Sure.
here? And they are, but there's something missing here.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I really do. I still think it's a fun ride. I like... so Gennaro ends up linking up with Marie the vampire. He stakes out the scene and finds her in like an old Salvation Army hiding out. And the two of them kind of end up at this gas station where we never see. It's just heard over the radio that Sal hit up a gas station on his way to his attorney's house.
I'm telling you, the whole thing with her taking the shower, that took all that took so long.
Yeah.
It really
I agree.
zapped momentum for me. But go ahead.
And another kind of, again, talk about stupid moment where they both just escape. They both she goes to use the bathroom. They don't monitor her. She climbs out the window.
He just
gets out of the car and leaves. So
says, hey, where's some guy's like, oh, it's down the street. It's like, okay.
Yeah, he goes to Bergman's house.
Yeah.
And it's a really funny scene when he shows up, and it's, I don't know what mobsters are in at this point. It's probably Tony Sirico and Rickles, and Sal just goes, I smell Gennaro. They're like, Sal, what the fuck are you talking about? And then he just climbs out the window. He breaks through the window, and I love that Rickles just turns and goes, Jesus Christ! It should have just been a buddy comedy of the two of them.
Rickles and Loja would have been awesome.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And so they end up finding...
And the wife, I don't even know if she even gets a line.
She gets some lines. It's
but
fun.
Her face says it all.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
She's horrified.
Right.
He ends up knocking out Gennaro, and they take him captive. They handcuff him, and they take him to this... I don't know if it's a junkyard. They're going to crush him at like a trash compactor.
Yeah.
Because they finally caught him now. And I think before that happens, Sal bites Bergman. And the wife is horrified. He killed him. He drank all his blood. The cops show up. They end up finding, like, I guess he has a late pulse or something. So they take him to the hospital.
Dario Argento.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot in that hospital scene. There's a
paramedic.
lot. There's Linnea Quigley. She's a horror actress.
Sure. Trash.
What?
Wasn't that her name in Return of the Living Dead?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Such a great movie.
Trash is getting naked
Yeah.
again.
She's like naked that whole movie.
That's a great movie.
It's one of those roles where, like, I don't know if maybe in the script she didn't realize that she'd be naked the entire
no,
movie.
I think she was perfectly fine.
Did she know
I think that was her thing.
She got a good body. So she's known for that. She was always doing that
she's
shit.
Scream Queen.
But they end up at this trash compactor, and Marie comes to save the day. And she's able to. This is where poor Tony. I wanted to see Vampire Tony Sirico, but he gets killed before that can happen.
That would have been nice.
Yeah. What's his name?
How does he bite it? I forget. She just gets shot.
She gets shot, yeah. And I think hit with the car. And then Provo gets shot in the leg and
foot.
Yeah. And then they end up escaping together, Marie and him. And she's kind of telling Gennaro about she needs to stop Sal because he's going to just turn more people. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, you can't have vampires roaming. Again, not said directly, but it's implied that he's going to, like, rule the world as a vampire. And then we get this scene where, like, the two of them check into a hotel. This really drags it down. There's got to be your passionate lovemaking scene, which goes on a bit too long. Yeah.
Man. Well, it's like a will they or won't they thing. And I'm like, I don't care. And, like, I get it, too. It's actually presented kind of well because he's like, Gennaro's like, let's go. What are we waiting for?
Right.
He's going to turn, like, if it's so desperate, let's go. She's like, no. He's going to sleep. She's a vampire. She knows. She's like, I got to sleep too.
Right.
Please don't let the sun hit me. And he's like, are you going to bite me in the neck? It's all the pieces are there.
Very cool scene when he starts, like, smoking Sal because it's getting... the sun's coming up. Absolutely. Or whatever. So he decides that the place he's going to use as his like coffin is a butcher, your typical Italian meat facility. And Sam Raimi is the attendant working there, who's fun in it.
I wish he would cameo more. Just be he
can act. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I like how he.
I'm always confused if it's him or his brother.
Ted. He popped up. I'm like, is that Ted Raimi?
They do the same shit. Like they look the same.
I know.
Mr. Michelli? Do you want I should call somebody?
This is good. Leave me alone. Shut the door.
Yeah, but you're in the freezer. Right?
Okay. Hit the fucking lights. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, he ends up like sleeping on just a giant slab of meat. And I love when...
Have you ever seen Drag Me to Hell?
Yeah.
Should we cover that at some point?
Maybe. That might be a good one.
I remember thinking that was great.
I'm sure there's something else with Rain. Like Darkman might be a better...
Darkman. I've never seen that.
Might be a better one.
Cool. All right, anywho.
Anyway, yeah. So he's asleep at this. They're at the motel. This is where we get Bergman wakes up in the hospital. It's a really cool scene where you see his heart stop and then the monitor starts again.
Almost immediately.
And he wakes up and the nurse is at the window, back turned to him, and he's like maniacal face approaching her, and she rips the curtain open. And this effect, man, it's really goddamn cool.
It's great.
It's practical.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of, I'm sure, visual animation there, but
it's excellent.
By the end of it, I mean, his arms start to fall. Like the orderly's trying to hold him down, his arm rips off,
and it's great because the wife walks
in. His skin's cracking, and he's just
as it starts.
As it's starting, yeah. She faints. Yeah,
by the way, but yeah,
passes out. It might be one of the coolest vampire deaths I've ever seen in a movie.
It's really good.
It's really good.
I have to agree there.
I'm kind of bummed that Rickles is out of the movie at this point, but I understand.
I think you're right. It's really up there.
It's great.
I don't know.
Between the contact lenses and all this stuff that Steve Johnson is doing for this movie, it's incredible.
It's just the way it's like it has that burning ash look, and then it just all like disintegrates. It's very well done.
Yeah.
Very, very well done.
And so they're at this motel. They're trying to track down Sal. when he gets up, they go to his essentially the Bada Bing. They go to a strip club where, of course, that's where, your mob offices are based out of.
Of course.
And I do love Tony Lip has a great line here where I think it's the strip club owner sees Sal. There's been reports that the man's dead. Like, it's been reported on the news. So he comes barreling into this strip club. Like, I gotta go upstairs. And the guy turns to Tony Lip and says, "Is he all right?" And he just goes, "Yeah, he's a fucking peach." I like stuff like that. I love. And
Proval had been turned at this point.
No, not yet.
Yes, because he bit him in the meat cooler.
Oh, right, you're right.
He heard him talking.
About it's another funny scene where he thinks they've just watched him kill one of his other henchmen, and they throw him in the trunk, and they get to a very populated area in the street, and he's like, "Open the trunk up," and they're like, "Sal, what are you talking about? Like, are you sure we open the trunk up?" And they open the trunk, and he just gets out.
Yeah.
Proval gets out, looks around, like has that same complexion with the liver spots on his face, and
right.
Very, very funny stuff. And yeah, we get this kind of final battle that happens at this strip club where he starts turning his mob henchmen. He starts like it's a very flavor. Like they keep just showing up, and like every time someone walks in the room, they just turn. They got the blood on their mouth, and they should have been sooner.
Thank you.
The turning of the mob should have been so much sooner. That's your fucking movie.
That's the movie.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I could not agree more.
Get this shit out with the undercover cop.
They wasted so much time on that. That's what sinks the movie.
Maybe you don't even need fucking Marie in the rest of the movie. Like maybe that's not a big part.
Well, she's as powerful as the rest of.
I guess, but like it's just like it would be. Watch this like undercover cop try to like re-enter these ranks after being outed, and like it would have been a much more conflicting story to watch him accept what's going on, because they really like they drop and then they bring back certain vampire powers, like the thing where they can like move around real quick.
Yeah,
it's thrown away on that end scene with the roof where like the door's locked and she can't get away. I'm like, just fucking we've seen you be able to like
but totally right.
There is a fun scene where again, unlike other vampire lore, it doesn't take a stake in the heart. If you're shot in the head or spinal cord, that ends you. So Proval gets killed. All the other vampires, Guzman hasn't turned, but the other guy's turned. He gets killed. They end up on the roof of the strip club, and Loggia jumps off. And this is kind of a cool scene where there's a bus coming one way, a cab coming the other, and they just kind of ram him up against the bus, but he doesn't die.
Right.
And he just like, "Why the fuck you learned it?" and punches through the bus window and pulls the driver out.
Yeah.
I love the power he's starting to get. It's a lot of fun. And then
the movie's over.
It's pretty much over. You get that cool scene where he walks out on fire.
Yeah, it's good.
And I don't quite know how that looks like visual, but you can see Loggia's face. And then the ending of this movie, it's almost like the end of a sitcom where he's like, they look at each other and it's like their names come up on the screen. The music kicks in. Do you know what I'm talking about? They end up like, she has an inner monologue the whole movie. And she's like, "I thought I would end it and have him kill me, end this nightmare." And he kind of is like, "Oh, come on, well, let's go it together." And like, he turns around, looks at her. I think they're in like a hotel lobby. He turns around, looks at her and is like,
and I thought, why not?
dude, it's just like, I feel like they ran out of it's like the Blues Brothers ending where they have all the credits.
Yeah.
You see John Candy doing that.
That's true.
The movie does like that freeze frame actor's name over the.
You're right.
I'm like, oh man. I expected to see like became a Clinton's VP, you know, like a high ranking Clinton, they like do the Animal House thing. But I gotta say, every now and again we find movies where it's like, what is an almost cult classic? And to me, it's a movie that no one knows about currently, that if it was introduced in the right way, could garner a bit of a cult following. And I do think this has the bones for it.
Is it worth a watch? Yeah.
It's a fun movie. It really gets things wrong.
It just wastes a lot of time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And especially
Dude, if it didn't, I'd be like, this movie's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Dude, the idea of the mob all being vampires.
Such a good premise.
It's set up perfectly. Mm-hmm. You have it right there. The boss gets infected. The boss learns to live with it. The boss wants to unify to take on the other crime families.
And even like, you say you get them turned sooner.
Yeah.
You pull a Dusk Till Dawn. You get them all in one place and kill the hive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you had to start turning them sooner, man.
There are so many movies that do this concept of like the head vampire turning the others in charge so much better. And this one, like, I love the Italian mob connection. It's just such a unique blend of things, but it just doesn't.
And there's so much great night photography.
Really great.
Snowy night photography.
Great cinematography.
Yeah. Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh looks
You
great.
really get to
Neon
see it.
and yeah.
It's good.
It's just, man, I really fucking
So much time wasted on the two of them.
Yeah, I agree.
It sucks.
I agree.
It's a shame.
That sex scene goes on. It's like the fucking sex scene from The Room. It's just like, you're like, oh, right, I get it. You guys love each other.
Yeah.
The handcuffs
she
break
broke
open.
she didn't need the
my
cuffs.
God.
I get it. Like,
whatever. She
did he
she
use
flaunts
the
it.
condom or not? I don't even remember.
Vampire Baby.
Yeah, maybe.
It's coming next. Yeah, I mean, ultimately.
Yeah, sure, she looks good, but like, I don't know. It's a weird thing too, because like I was thinking about this recently, because everything.
Hey John, do me a favor. Don't get me killed in this movie, will you?
We were talking about how like the safety thing, like you can't get away with the fly by the seat of your pants shit anymore.
No.
Everything's through an HR thing. It's very sterile.
Right.
But like sex really was a selling point for movies.
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah, the movie's not that great,
Like
but she's hot.
You would see this poster and be like, you would know there's going to be some nudity in this movie.
Yeah.
You would just look at the poster and you're like, you know what? R-rated, seductive lips. I'm getting to see boobs in this movie.
But I just think about like Swordfish. Like Halle Berry was paid extra to get her tits out, and she talked about that and was just open about it and laughed and joked about it. Like today, that's like, I think you go to jail for saying something like that. Offering a woman money to get naked.
In our short film, I offered you the opportunity to take your, take your top off, and you were not for it. So you gotta be respectful.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
understand. So ultimately, not a recommend on this for you.
It's worth a watch, but not good.
If you're looking for like something that's different, in this time of year to watch,
you like the mobsters chewing scenery.
Yeah.
Fine.
Hey, by the way, werewolves or vampires?
More interesting?
Yeah.
I'm so bored with both. I think I'd have to maybe say werewolf.
I agree. Only because
Vampires are dour.
it's like one note with the vampire shit, and it's always the same stuff, and like, oh, I get it.
Well, their lives are bummers.
But like, you look at American Werewolf, you look at The Howling, like they do kind of different things with the concept.
I was thinking about checking out Dog Soldiers. You ever hear of that?
I have. It's okay.
Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah,
A buddy of mine's always he was trying to get me to watch it years ago. I just never did.
I rewatched again Wolf recently. Wolf's it kind of very similar to this, but I love like fucking when Nicholson just becomes kind of like an alpha dog, and he's like pissing on the shoes of his coworker, and it's so fun to watch him as
I
like.
gotta see Wolf.
Oh, you've never seen it?
No.
It's fun.
Well, it's like
That's Mike Nichols.
When after
maybe next year.
After David wakes up in the wolf's cage in American Werewolf in London, and he's like telling me, he's like, I don't remember anything. He's like, I feel so great though. I feel amazing.
Yeah.
Like it's just more of that. It's like it's so sad to be a vampire. Where it's like a werewolf. It's like
right.
The vigor of it.
That would have worked.
See this movie misses so many missed opportunities because Loja's really feeling it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel so powerful.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like I wanted him to flex more instead of running around.
Yeah.
Doing nothing.
I'm pretty sure in Wolf, Nicholson's hair starts to regrow. His hairline starts to improve.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's good.
See, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, and he's like a businessman, so it's like it's like a wolf of business. It becomes like
I like that. I like that. The middle-aged man who's instead of a midlife crisis, it's
just going through a
werewolf. And we'll talk about it on Patreon. One of the pretty, they don't overdo it either, but a movie I'd never seen, I always heard about, and it earns its cult status is Ginger Snaps.
Yeah.
And it does that kind of analogy with, a girl having her period for the first time and becoming a werewolf. And it's like a middle-aged man having that midlife
yeah,
crisis.
Right, as a werewolf.
He gets his mojo back. Is that Wolf?
That's Wolf.
Fuck. All right, I can't steal it then.
Next year. We should do Wolf next Halloween. We don't have to wait that long. But
I'm just saying to make a movie.
Yeah.
Like, I guess they
you like that idea. It's fun.
Fuck.
But yeah, you just mentioned on Patreon, you kind of we could have talked about the goddamn stupids, but you wanted to steer the Patreon show. So
well, I figured you're doing a take on vampires.
Yeah.
So let's do an interesting take on werewolves and Frankenstein.
Is that what May is?
That's what
you would call May that?
Kind of what it turns into.
Well, yeah, so we're going to talk about two very feminine-driven horror movies.
Indeed.
On Patreon at patreon.com/almostcultclassics. And then next month, since we'll be after the election, we figured let's do something political and revisit Bulworth. I've never seen it.
Never seen it.
But we discussed Warren Beatty in depth on Dick Tracy way back in the show's early history.
Yeah.
So it might be my time to finally see Reds.
Oh, yeah, you should check out Reds. And then on Patreon that month, Joe's going to watch Wag the Dog for
I'm
the
gonna
first
watch
time.
Wag the Dog.
Maybe one of my favorite movies.
Okay, spoiler
Top
alert.
10.
Oh, man.
No, I'm telling you, it's going to blow your fucking mind.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And then we're going to have a packed movie catch-up very soon because we watched
So much shit.
Horizon.
Yeah.
We
Kevin
went to the
Costner's
movies to see Mr. Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis.
Uh-huh.
And we were 2 of 4 people in the theater. So that
Yeah.
was a cool experience.
Whatever they were up to.
And then you said you might check out Beetlejuice finally.
I'm going
and
to try.
we'll
Yeah,
check that out.
If it's out for streaming, I'll check that out.
I might check out Joker. I'm just at this point. I'm like,
Have fun.
Yeah, I know. I know you're not going to do
not
it. It might be
interested.
fun for me to describe it to you, though.
I always like that.
Yeah.
And we'll have our second part of our Sandler series
Yeah, I've got
coming
a
out soon.
few more I have to get to first. I had to take a break
Poor
for
kid.
the
Of course.
my personal sanity.
I'm not going to hold a gun to your head to finish that one,
Yeah. But yeah, we'll be back for that, and we got some more stuff we're going to be talking about soon. Ryan teased some stuff that's coming up, but yeah,
there's going to be an interesting photo
there's going
op
to be a
coming.
very interesting thing we have going on. But to those of you who support us on Patreon, we're going to see you over there for that show. And to those of you that don't, thanks for listening, and maybe you'll consider supporting us for next time.
Thanks for listening.